so happy to, like, it feels like a massive weight off my chest just having that project out, because I've been singing these songs for a long time now, and I'm just so pleased that people can finally just take them into their own lives.
Well, okay, this is about you and your journey in music. Let's talk about where you were born and raised.
Born in London, raised north of London in a little outside a village called Kings Langley. Very kind of very beautiful green garden, very, very English countryside. Very nice. Like, yeah, it's a nice place around there. It's quite quaint. It's kind of the kind of place that I think Americans think the whole of England looks like. You know, thatched cottages and little pubs and beautiful walks and things like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very, very nice. I think that's why they moved us out of London, because London is, you know, it's a full-on place to grow up, especially if you're in the center of it. So yeah.
How long were you in London? Were you pretty young when you moved?
Yeah, I think it was about seven,
okay.
7, 8. But my father is an actor, so we had to stay close to the city, so we didn't go far. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So
yeah,
arts are in the family. Music at all in the family?
Music is very much in the family. My mother was a French horn player, and she was also a dancer. And we had music from the moment we were born, really. We were singing, and they woke us up with music. They put us to sleep with music. We sung every time we had a meal. Immersed, completely submerged in music. Totally. It's very, very, I feel how lucky that is.
That is awesome. And so you got into music at an early age, I would imagine.
I was singing from we sung together, so we were singing from a very early age. And then around the age of 6 or 7, I started teaching myself piano. And then just, you know, naturally just started writing songs at about like 11. I mean, they were, you know, the 11-year-old songs. They weren't like pieces of genius, but I was definitely drawn to the whole thing. And I have quite a full family. We were quite noisy. We were quite full on, like on top of each other, but no one was particularly interested in the room with the piano in it. So I would like escape to the room with the piano and just have like a little oasis of just sitting, writing songs for hours, and caught up in my own little world.
That's awesome. And you said you were writing songs early, 11 years old. When did you start like performing out, or when did you start showing people these songs? Was that later?
It was later. I wasn't one of those kids that put on concerts in the front room. I was like very, very private about it. It was very much my own thing. I was terrified of sharing my songs. I think because I thought quite rightly that people would take them as my feelings, and it feels very personal to share your feelings in such a kind of out there way, make yourself quite vulnerable. And I was very scared of that. So I didn't really start sharing my songs. Under duress, I would share them sometimes, but maybe until I was about 14 maybe, I started like playing them at school. I made a little band at school, and I got my sister to sing harmonies, and so from about then I started doing it, and then performing more properly when I was like left school and stuff like that.
Okay. And did you end up going to college for music at all, or you just took this as a passion?
No, I didn't. I thought about it. I thought about going to study English. I thought about like just doing something academic, because I love all that, but I loved songwriting so much. And then of course you can go to songwriting colleges, and you can go to places, you know, music colleges that aren't necessarily like just about an instrument. But I kind of thought it was a waste of time. I think I thought you can kind of teach yourself I'm a bit arrogant like that. I think I can teach myself a lot of things. Right. I kind of felt I just want to start living. I just want to be out in the world and just consider that my education, and just write. And so that's kind of what I did. I didn't do college. No. So
just songwriting. Was just the songwriting
first...
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean
just out there. No, just out there. Just like I just threw myself into London and just tried to, you know, started gigging and started building a little life. Yeah.
And when did you what was the first success? I mean, I looked at that you put a record out, and from what I saw, an EP in 2014. Was that your first release?
Oh, that was that 2014? I thought that was 2017.
Oh,
but I could be wrong. No, maybe No, you could be right. I felt like 2017 was too recent.
Oh, 2016, it says. I thought it said 2014. 16. We're all, I mean, it's been a day.
We're close.
It's been a day. So 2000, well, you say 17, so it's probably 17. Who knows? The internet is never, it's not like it's never failed me before. The stars look down. Tell me about, oh, was that your first release then?
Yeah, that was my first release. I'd been recording and I'd had a band and and it kind of felt natural to put something out. And so we kept it quite small and simple, and it wasn't particularly fancy, but it was the first little project. And yeah, it's nice to hear those songs. I feel like I'm in a very different space now, but songs are funny like that. They kind of, especially vocally, I think I've vocally made a massive kind of hopefully progress since even then. So it's interesting to hear them and kind of think, oh God, a little bit off there, but it's it's a little kind of like a little diary that's for the world to see of like my little journey. Yeah.
Sure. And from that record, what was kind of the next, would you say like a milestone moment for you?
What was the next milestone moment? I think it was starting to work with the people that I'm working with now, which is basically people in LA. Because I started to write, I sort of changed the way I was writing songs. I think I suddenly was able to embrace, I think through just development, but was able to embrace vulnerability a bit more, and my songwriting improved a lot. And then I've been producing my own stuff like in a kind of sketchy way. I mean, I kind of make a production sketch of all my songs before they go to a producer, and then we co-produce the tracks. But I started to change the way I produced after that album that EP, sorry. And because of that, I could tell that it called on a bit more of like a more pop producer, someone who could take the songs into a bit of a bigger space. So the next milestone was kind of writing this guy that I've been working with for ages, who's been really helpful, and he's now my manager. And I sent him one of my songs. I sent him my song Recovery, and I think he was then like, okay, we need to get you to LA. So it was kind of a combination of my production desires kind of developing, and then my songwriting improving, which then led to this kind of new chapter of LA and coming out here and meeting the producer that I worked on with the album. Yeah.
Oh wow. So this.
But I've got a very bad memory. There might be some really great things that happened I completely have forgotten. I probably
no. But this is a new venture then, getting to Los Angeles. So this is all pretty, because Recoveries just came out on the new record, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, it came out last year as a single, but we added it to the record.
Right.
But yeah.
So
it's a new venture, very new venture.
Yeah. So from that song was like, okay, well, tell me about getting to LA then. Was that just like I should move to LA?
Well, initially it was just coming out to visit, and it was a bit like, it felt a little bit like coming out for a meeting. But obviously it's this very extreme thing of coming all the way from England. It felt a lot bigger than that. But essentially it was to kind of test the waters and to meet the team over here and to meet Kevin, the producer, and see if we got on, see if we clicked, see if he liked the music enough to work on it, see if we would work together well in a studio. So I kind of came out like 3 times over a year or so, year and a half or so. And every time it was just kind of like developing, just figuring out, because I wasn't initially coming out here with the thing of, oh, I've got to move. That came from, I suppose, the success of the working relationships that I formed here, and particularly with Kevin. We just really clicked, and we started working on the songs that ended up in the album. And then I moved to LA in August, but that was a very long process of very boring visa stuff and COVID and everything, all the stuff that we've been dealing with all came into that.
Okay. Yeah. So you had made it, you were in LA when you were writing these songs and then COVID happened, or vice
No.
Okay.
Most of these songs are written in the UK before I came here, which is why it's been such a kind of labor of love, because COVID nearly all of them were ready before COVID hit. So it was like, gosh. Yeah, it's like a kind of, I was in Scotland staying with my twin sister and just kind of refreshing the visa page on the US site every day just to see if there was any progress. And yeah, I know, yeah, it's full on. So most of the songs were written in England. Oh God, it was totally, I just never believed it would happen. You know, it's just like that thing of you just kind of keep yourself in a suspended space of like, what's gonna, everything could change, nothing could change. So we've all been living with that complete I know we kind of nearly feel like we're a bit through it now, but during COVID, like we didn't know what was going on. Like anything could happen. One day to the next, you could, like, you're stuck there, or you can't go to your local shop, or yeah, it was a weird time.
You said you have a twin sister?
I do, yeah.
Identical twin?
Not identical. No, she's got
okay.
very red hair, and she's in temperament extremely different to me, but we're very, very close.
That's awesome. Is she musical, or was that, or you got that gene?
No, I suppose we all got the gene by, I don't know, I always compare, it feels like our experience, all of us kids, there's four of us, all of us growing up in the household that we grew up in, it's almost like growing up with another language in the house. It's if your mother is German and your father is English, you're going to grow up knowing both languages, and you're not going to know why you know them, you just know them. And it's a bit like that with music. We're all inevitably musical, but I'm the only one who's doing it professionally. But my twin is a teacher. She teaches in an alternative education school where there's a ton of music. So she leads all the choirs, and we had a little band when we were young. So yeah, she's very musical. She's very musical, but very different to me. Like she's very more classical.
Okay, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I want to hear about the song to the Siren, and then I want to talk about the TikTok thing.
Cool, let's do it.
So that song was huge. Tell me about that, but it's not on the record, correct?
True. I mean, it's not my song. It's a written song by, I mean, it's from the 70s. It's originally written by Tim Buckley, who's Jeff Buckley's father.
Yeah, and you did a cover for a film. Is that how it all started? Like, tell me about that. Yeah, how that all began.
I got an email in July of 2020, I guess. Yes, yes, maybe. Oh, it's so hard to remember now. But anyway, yeah, a couple of years ago, I got an email from the editor of who I know, she's a family friend, and she described. She obviously couldn't talk about the project she was working on, but she said they've been looking for someone to do a cover of the song. They've been looking for ages. I didn't want to just do the nepotism thing of throws. Oh, I know my best friend down the road, like she can sing a song of it.
Right.
She thought, I genuinely think you would be good for this. I've asked if you can do a version, submit it. And I said, great. Tell me, like, can you tell me anything about the scene or something about it, so I have a sense of what's trying to be channeled here? And so she gave me a little description, but I had no idea anything about it. So, and I heard the song, and I hadn't heard the song before, and I submitted my version, didn't hear anything for like 6 months, and just, went, okay, well, that's not happening. And then I got a call in December saying, yeah, they want you to be the cover, the version, the voice. And then they told me what film it was, which is the Justice League Zack Snyder cut, and I was like, oh my heavens, that's a lot bigger than I anticipated. And then within a month, I was recording it with a full orchestra in London, and that was all a bit wild. And I'm really proud of that song. It would have been lovely to have it on the album, but we were getting to like 15 songs, and I think technically Warner own it, and I don't know, stuff like that. But,
well, that's huge. What an opportunity to have it in such a, and that's crazy. You didn't know what it was going to be. And then it was like, oh, it's going to be in Justice League. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was. And then just reading the whole history of how that film even came into being. And I don't know, I know that there are lots of interesting kind of like just incredible things that happened to make that film happen. And like years and years of campaigning from fans. So it was a way bigger deal than I ever anticipated my first sync deal to be. Like, yeah, it was a bit weird, but it was great, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There was a lot of like controversy, so not controversy, but a lot of, like you said,
there was controversy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, with the film, right? It was already done, and then he recut it or redid it. I can't remember.
It was done, and it was done, and then due to like a personal tragedy, Zack Snyder had to drop out during the post phase, and then it was kind of a mess. It was put out, but it was a complete mess. And the fans hated it immediately, and they were like, we want Zack's cut. And Warner were, I think, resistant, and were resistant for about 4 years. And I think then finally the fans like grew so much. I mean, I think at one point they were flying planes over the Warner lot with like like it's really quite remarkable, and a kind of an interesting shift in terms, like it kind of proves an interesting shift in audience power this thing of like the people, like there's a lot more people are very, very good at getting together now and creating movements that these great corporations now they can't really suppress or ignore it. So it's like, I don't know where Warner are with that and how like, I don't know why they resisted it, but I suppose it's because it's a lot of money.
Right.
But yeah, they broke them eventually, and this song was in a scene that had been cut, and yeah, it was great. It was, I couldn't, when I first saw the film, which was like the day after it came out or something, I was just like, what the? It felt a little bit like, I don't know, it's hard to describe it. When you hear yourself singing, it's a bit like, it felt wrong. It felt like, why am I, like, if I felt like I'd inserted my own song into the film, like really badly, and like just like made a music video out of it.
Right.
No, this is it. Like, because it's like the scene is incredible. It's like this amazing scene, and there's no other sound apart from this song and my voice. And it was like, geez, like, it was not what I expected. And yeah.
That's so cool though. I remember I have he's 14 now, son, and he when that came out, he's like telling me all the drama behind it. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, cool.
And then it was like on HBO Max or something, I think is where he watched it. And like, yeah, it was just like, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, I watched it with him, but he was like, yeah, this is like it's like a different version of the film. And I'm like, oh, like, it was cool to kind of hear like the back concept.
Was he happy with it?
Oh yeah, he thought he liked it. Okay. And he even liked the other one they redid too. I feel like DC this has become a thing. They redid Suicide Squad.
Yes. And the second one was better, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I heard that.
Must have been more complaining, but
yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And then you had some TikTok success with one of your songs, January?
Yeah, I did. No, actually, it was in. It was probably in the autumn.
Okay.
In the autumn of last year, I'd been on TikTok for a little while, and because my manager was like, Rose, you've got to do it, and I was really resistant initially, but I'm so glad I caved, because it's a really interesting platform, and I know that there are there's a lot of crap on there, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily feel like it's worth your time. But we all like a cat dancing. I mean, it's hard to scroll away from these hilarious videos. Like, in the end of the day, like, it is funny.
Right. It's just mindless entertainment for a lot of it, right?
Yeah, but I kind of thought, I don't want to be a part. I don't feel like, where do I fit in that? Like, how can I possibly anyone possibly be interested? But then I wrote this kind of song that was written very quickly, and just like a bit of a joke about a date that I went on. And the main feeling of the date was just this thing of, and maybe I'm a bit like this, but I was just way happier to be driving away from the date than at the date. And even though the date wasn't bad, like, it wasn't like it was everything had gone wrong, or he'd insulted me, or anything like terrible had happened. It was just that this thing of preferring my own company. And so I just made this little ditty, this little song about it. And weirdly, it just really connected with people, which is kind of interesting. Like, that turns out loads of people have had that feeling of nothing grand, but just a simple feeling of just, it's nice to be on my own. So it's like, and for some reason that song just went completely viral. And so then we put it out, and it got, I don't know how many of us had, like, at least like 5 million now combined. And it's done really well on Spotify. So at the moment, it's my number one song. It's the one that everyone knows me for, and I get recognized every now and then for it at gigs, and it's funny. And I've seen loads of covers, which are always brilliant. So that was an interesting kind of turn in my kind of fan base growing. It's been great. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, do you remember when it came out? Like, was it a pretty quick, like, viral moment, or was it something that took a bit of time, or was it, like, did you wake up and it was millions of people had watched the video, or did something? It was
pretty quick. It was like, I put it out, and when you put things out on TikTok, you can kind of tell when they're doing well, because they'll kind of, like, your inbox will be full for the first couple of days. But then it kind of went very quickly, and then my manager texted me saying, wow, they like this song. Like, if this gets to 1 million, we're going to have to release it. And then, like, a day later, it got to 1 million, and then it was like 2, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to release it now. So it happened very quickly. Yeah, it definitely happened very quickly.
What were you experiencing when that happened? Like, were you just psyched and shook, or, I mean, I wouldn't even know what to feel like that would feel like.
It was just, I was just completely bemused and like surprised by the whole thing. And it's just, but in a way, it's also, I always feel like a little bit, because you're managed, you've got those people that are who like want you to do well. And so when something goes well, it always feels a bit like you're kind of doing something for them as well. It feels like you're affirming their belief in you. So when something goes well, it feels like, oh, that's nice. So it felt like that, really. It felt like, oh, that's great that something has worked on here. I think I understand a bit more about what works on TikTok for me, and like, and it's great, it kind of grows the audio, like my followers just like went off through the roof, and like all that stuff is just so helpful, because it means that the other songs that aren't necessarily in the same place as that song also get benefited, and it so I was psyched to put it, yeah, it's funny. So, it was a bit surreal.
Yeah, I again, I wouldn't even know how to handle it. Like I think that's so cool when those moments happen. Like, whoa, but what?
Yeah.
Just what is going on? Like, yeah, that's awesome.
And there comes a point where it's like it goes beyond a certain number, and you start to lose the ability to kind of visualize it in your head. So I think beyond 20,000, I'm a little bit like, I don't know what any of that means now.
Yeah. Wow. And so your record is out now too.
Yeah, it literally just came out. It's so exciting.
Excited about that, I would imagine.
So happy to it feels like a massive weight off my chest just having that project out, because I've been singing these songs for a long time now, and I'm just so pleased that people can finally just take them into their own lives, and I can like clear my head a bit, and like obviously enjoy the fact they're out and share them and all that sort of stuff, but also just start thinking about what's next and all that stuff.
Have you been writing, I would imagine, since then? Do you have others?
Yeah, always writing. Yeah, I've got a bunch. I've got a whole bunch. I mean, and there's a whole bunch that didn't make the album that weren't quite right for it, but might be right for the next project. And there's loads of songs. I mean, I know my manager is very much always pulling me towards the new things, but I always feel like there's like little babies that I haven't, like they're so sweet. They're happy. They still have life. So there's like a lot. There's like a few older ones which I'm still like I have a place in my heart for, but you've got to figure out what works for the next.
Release them as a B-side or something. Test them on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can be like, see, I told you this should have been.
Do you know what? That actually happened. A song that I showed my manager like a year ago did really well on TikTok, and he was like, well, that sounds really great. I was like, I showed you that song a while ago. you weren't that bothered.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But TikTok is a good place to do that. Just see how it does, and if it does well, you get a sense of, okay, people can do this. They like this.
Yeah, because people are watching that aren't necessarily following you too, right? I mean, if it lands on that For You page with 90% of people are paying attention to, it just opens up the door for people to find new content. It's really quite an amazing app. It's crazy.
It is, and I think it's like, I know it's not. I mean, it's not that new, but I feel like it's really coming into its new phase of being a lot more important than people thought it would be. Like I know so many people who've been signed off of it have now careers as producers and as writers and songwriters, and also as just like presenters and personalities, and it's a career maker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like how YouTube, when it came out, like just changing people's lives. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rose, for doing this. Again, huge apologies about all the confusion and all that stuff earlier.
We survived it.
We did. We made it. I do have one more quick question for you before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
For one thing, just keep doing it. Like keep writing, I feel like writing and being an artist and being creative is like, it's like being an athlete. You keep the muscle warm, keep doing it. And also just this thing of, even though it's like, it's hard to find it. There's a lot of us out there, and it feels very competitive, and it feels like you're like constantly in competition with other people and not being heard. And it's very hard to like get your voice heard. But if you make something good and you really work on it and make sure it's as good as you can make it, that it will find its place. Like I totally didn't think I'd ever have any kind of like profile on TikTok or anything like that, and I just kept at it, and that's the only thing. That's really it. And also release music when it's ready. Release it. Don't do what I did and sit on it, because that won't help. just, yeah, let it breathe, let it go, move on to the next thing.
Bringing it backward.